This is the Freddie Coleman Show on ESPN Radio.
And ESPNradio.com.
Always hope everything is good for you and the best for you. Part of the Freddie Coleman Show. That means that's good for you. Thanks to the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line and also Progressive Insurance. I can't think of a better way for us to kick off our weekend than doing it together, especially in 30 minutes. A superstar is hoping to get what he wants. That comes your way in 30 minutes. You can always reach me anytime you want at 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. And I've heard plenty of you on Twitter. Do we really need a Game 7 between Miami and Toronto? Plenty of head shaking, east to west. Some of it not, a lot of it not north and south. Haven't we seen enough of this series? Now, normally the two sweetest words in sports are Game 7. I think a lot of people did not want to see a Game 7 on Sunday between Toronto and Miami. Well, you probably should have talked to Goran Dragic and Dwayne Wade about that.
Dragic on the dribble, back to Dang, back to Dragic, left wing. Dragic got Carroll to back up his jump shot. Up and in! Oh, Dragic! Don't get too close, you'll burn your fingers. He's got 28 now.
Well, all righty then, a WAXY. But you know what? He was right. Goran Dragic, easily a playoff career high. He was terrific in this game. Dwayne Wade took over late, but you're not going to get what you want. You didn't want a Game 7. Plenty of you. Now, Heat fans, of course, they wanted a Game 7. I don't blame them. Plenty of NBA fans were thinking about it, thinking, okay, well, do we really need to see it? Well, you're going to. And I firmly believe this. Toronto had to win tonight. I still do not trust this team, again, to win a Game 7. I know they did it versus the Indiana Pacers. Miami, more experience with a smaller lineup. They had that guy, that Dwayne Wade guy that took over things in the fourth quarter.
And it goes off to Rosen, and it will find Johnson. Johnson, no look inside. Biombo swatted away by Wade. And back with it will come Dwayne Wade. What a block from behind by Wade. Now Wade, left side. Wade, nowhere to go. Wade. Out to Richardson, back to Wade. 10 on the shot clock. 6 minutes left in this game. Wade on the dribble. Going to go right in. Layup. Got it to go, Wade. Found room inside. 18 for Father Prime.
Yeah, Dragic had a great game for Miami. He was terrific. His best game in his playoff life. He had 30. Dwayne Wade had 22 and put this team on his back in the fourth quarter. And I'm going to say this out loud. Can we remember a guy that's going to be in a basketball Hall of Fame or really any Hall of Fame in recent memory that's going to be as underappreciated as Dwayne Wade? During this playoff run, he has passed 4 legends on the all-time scoring list in the playoffs. Guys like Karl Malone and Hakeem Olajuwon. Yet anytime we talk about great players of a generation, we seem to forget about that guy, don't we? Wasn't it just last year that plenty of us thought, you know what, Freddie, this guy's done. Boy, he's beat up. He doesn't have it anymore. Poor Dwayne Wade. Now, granted, he's married to Gabrielle Union, so he wins no matter what. On and off the court, he wins. But plenty of people looking at Dwayne Wade, and they had the pallbearers ready. They had the priests ready for the sermon saying, here lies Dwayne Wade. It was a great career, but now it's over. And he's reinvented his game. I'm not saying he's more effective than he was when he was a finals MVP back in 2006 or part of 2 championship teams when LeBron James, he and Chris Bosh got together. But anytime we mention great players or great players of a generation or 5 great players of a generation, we seem to forget about that Dwayne Wade guy. And here he is once again. And you know he relishes certain situations like this. Miami is an underdog. Toronto had a better record in the regular season. They are the higher seed in this series. They're going to have Game 7 on their home court when they play on Sunday at 3:30 Eastern Time on ABC. And yet Dwayne Wade having the time of his life with this young team. I wonder, can the Raptors deal with that Game 7 pressure, staring at them at home and win again? They did it against Indiana. I predicted they would win that series in 7. And after Game 1, people said, you're going to forget it, Freddie. You're going to rule that prediction. But Toronto didn't let me down. I wonder if they'll be able to do it again and make it work because the pressure is clearly on them. Dwayne Wade, like I mentioned, he could not have had more fun talking to Lisa Salters of ESPN after this 103-91 Game 6 victory, forcing a Game 7.
Dwayne, what was the difference tonight?
Goran Dragic. Goran had a big game for us. He really was on attack all night, and I said we needed somebody to have a special game, and he did that for us.
Well, Father Prime showed up in the fourth quarter. What changed for you in the fourth?
I was aggressive early, but it's all to set up for late in the game. I love the fourth quarter. It's winning time, and it's a time when they put the ball in my hand and make plays.
Game 7 in Toronto.
Yeah.
What's it going to come down to?
It's going to come down to which team play better. It's going to be a fight. Hopefully, we got to go up there and muster up a lot of energy. They're going to have their crowd behind them. We just got to make sure that we start the game off the right way, give ourselves a chance early, and make it a fight.
He's having a great time, isn't he? It sounds it. Here's another reason. Got his team back. Got his organization back. He deferred when LeBron James wanted to join forces with him and Chris Bosh. He was glad to do that. I think from an ego standpoint, he was like, I can't believe I have to sacrifice. But you know what? If that means I get a chance to play with him and Chris Bosh and we win championships, I'm willing to do it. Now you listen to his demeanor now, thrilled to be doing this, still at his age, not being regarded as that sunset player now. All of a sudden, Dwayne Wade's going to be in a pretty good contract position because if Miami tries to skimp on him, there are going to be other teams out there to say that guy can still not only play, but also lead and deliver in a clutch situation. And he got his team back. I think that means a lot to him. If that was your organization from the time you got in the NBA and you decided to take a step back for LeBron James, a lot of guys would not have done that in that situation. They'd have told LeBron to go scratch, no matter how great of a player he is. But the minute LeBron left, Dwayne was like, all right, okay, back to being my team now. I'm going to change my game. We're going to be ready. He's having a great, great time. Mark my words, that's going to be part of the Miami Heat locker room going into Game 7. They're playing with absolutely no pressure. Hey, Toronto, a lot of people don't trust you to win Game 7 at home. I am one of them, and Dwayne Wade believes you will not be able to prove him wrong. Bill in Hawaii, thanks for calling the Freddie Coleman Show at 888-729-3776. Bill, what's on your mind?
Hey, Freddie, love the show. Thanks for taking my call.
My pleasure.
Yeah, when you were talking about Dwayne Wade being underappreciated, it just rang a bell with me because I've been following him since he's in high school. That Final Four he took Marquette to, unbelievable. His NBA career is just so unappreciated. And, you just see all this love for Kobe, which is well due as well. But, guys like Dwayne Wade, man, he's just one in the generation, and I think he just goes under the radar. And then I'm so glad you brought that point up because he's one of a kind.
Yeah, and we've seen other guys that have been superstars in the NBA that were born at the wrong time and not win a championship. Charles Barkley, Karl Malone, Patrick Ewing, John Stockton, guys like that. Will Chamberlain, born at the wrong time. Bill Russell winning all those championships in the late 50s and early in the 60s at the expense of Will Chamberlain. Dwayne Wade is underappreciated, but at least he has 3 rings. At least he can say, whoo, man, I had to go through my career and I couldn't get past that guy, LeBron, or this Steph Curry guy here, or Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook over there. Whoo, at least I got 3 rings. I could be underappreciated, but I don't have to worry about going ringless into the Basketball Hall of Fame when my career is done in Springfield, Massachusetts. And believe me, can you think about the era that Dwayne Wade has played in with cats like Kobe, Tim Duncan, LeBron James? Dwayne Wade's career, you can't put on the same line with Kobe, can't put on the same line with LeBron James, you can't put on the same line with Tim Duncan, but it's still underappreciated for what he's been able to do. When he got to the league, people say he can't be that good. He's been great, and he's great again. And he would love nothing better than to get a chance to play against his boy. Beat Toronto in Game 7, and all of a sudden Dwayne Wade will lead this ragtag underdog bunch against the mighty Cleveland Cavaliers, who I believe should not lose until they get to the NBA Finals. No matter who wins Game 7, Cleveland should waylay them. But Dwayne Wade wants the chance. Toronto, I don't trust you. Prove me wrong. Prove a lot of people wrong. Dave in Maryland, what do you have to say?
Good evening, Mr. Coleman.
Good evening, sir.
Hey, I do think Miami is going to win Game 7, and based off of experience, and I think that, my Wizards, we were able to go up there and beat Toronto, and I know it's another year, but I just think pressures of the past, they come up to haunt. They haunted my Capitals. We choked out this year, and I think Toronto's going to be a little bit nervous in Game 7. Dwayne Wade, he's got those rings, so he knows how to come through in the clutch, and I just think that I look for him to come up big, and to me, I think that would be a more entertaining series, Miami, Dwayne versus LeBron, than Toronto. I do believe that I think Miami throws a little bit more wrinkles in there and might be able to get in LeBron's head a little bit. But I agree with you. Cleveland should cakewalk to the finals, and but I guess it's just me. I guess I would love to see a little bit more of an intrigue, and I just don't think Toronto poses enough threats. And I got one quick question for you on just a thought. Sure. If you were going to play in Game 7 and you had a situation where you got a team that has had a lot of pressures of coming up short, do you think it's better to try to if you were that team, will you try to jumpstart your team, or just do you think Miami's going to try to just attack them real quick at the beginning of the game?
If I'm Miami, I'm attacking them right out of the gate. I don't let them believe for 1 second they're going to win this game. And I think to kind of back up your point or kind of answer your question, check out what Dwayne Casey, Raptors head coach, said tonight after his team lost Game 6 and they have Game 7 at home.
We came here to try to win the game, Ira. I mean, we didn't come here with a 7-game series in mind. It's been a great series. They're a championship caliber team. Well-coached team, but we came here to try to win the game. We wasn't coming in wanting the Game 7. We didn't, they did an excellent job of setting the tempo and the style of play early, and we didn't adjust to it as far as guarding the basketball, containing the basketball, keeping it in front of us. They kind of went away from their offense and just were putting their head down and just going one-on-one, and we didn't do a good job of containing the ball.
You can look at that two ways. Number one, hey, we had a chance to finish this team off. We wanted to end them and put them out of their misery and move on to play the Cleveland Cavaliers in the Eastern Conference Finals. Or on the other side, you could listen to a coach who said, man, I wonder about us in Game 7, even though we're playing at home. You can make a compelling argument for both sides based on what Dwayne Casey just said about trying to finish it tonight in Game 6 and not doing it. Part of Straight Talk, presented by Straight Talk Wireless. They have the best phones, best networks at half the cost. Straight Talk Wireless, they have nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable networks. Oh, it is definitely on now between LeBron James and Steph Curry. That's next on ESPN Radio. It is the Freddie Coleman Show on ESPN Radio, Sirius XM Channel 80, and the ESPN app. No, I didn't forget about this. What kind of man would I be? An un-North American man, that's what. I haven't forgotten about the Stanley Cup playoffs because it's getting exciting once again. We got the conference finals that happen tonight. So let me get this straight. If you're Tampa Bay, you lose your main goaltender. You're on the road. It's Game 1, a raucous crowd in Pittsburgh, and you wind up winning 3-1 anyway? Well, excuse me, Tampa Bay. I picked them to win in 6. They are fast. They're like a bunch of piranhas. And even when they lost Bishop, they went on to score 3 goals after that to take the crowd and the Penguins out of that game. They win Game 1 tonight, 3-1. Boy, oh boy, they lose their main guy in goal, and yet they found a way to go out there and dominate the Pittsburgh Penguins until the final period where the Penguins outshot them. Tampa Bay leading that Eastern Conference Finals series 1-0. If you have not seen them play, tune in. They are a treat to watch. Speaking of tuning in, Oklahoma City fans, nothing personal. Raptors and Heat fans, nothing personal. But I want to see Cavs Warriors Part 2. The NBA needs that bi-coastal rivalry. And they could potentially get it with Golden State on the west side, Cleveland on the east side. It's not going to be to the level of Magic versus Bird, Lakers versus the Boston Celtics. I don't think anybody should expect that. If you want to call it a latter-day generation, that kind of rivalry, okay. Right now, there really is no beginning stage because Golden State is clearly the best team, even though the Cavaliers have been unbelievable on their side of the bracket in the playoffs. 8-0, thank you very much. But if you thought it wasn't on between LeBron James and Steph Curry, it is. LeBron is really bothered by all this Steph love. Never mind the fact that A, he's not the only one, or B, how many players are sick and tired of that LeBron love he got? When LeBron was getting all those kudos and all those platitudes, there were a lot of players like, dude, enough already. We get it. You're the best player. We understand it. You went to Miami. You won championships. Enough already, ESPN and Fox and everybody else. I think LeBron seemed to forget that. But he has not minded trolling Steph Curry. Even though he wasn't exactly wrong about Steph Curry's unanimous most valuable player award that he received earlier this week. He said most valuable is open to interpretation. He did say Steph Curry deserved it, but he also said, courtesy of the Associated Press, I think sometimes the word valuable or best player of the year, you can have different results. You know, that's not taking anything from anyone that's ever won the award. He reaffirmed he was not taking anything away from Steph Curry, but at the same time, that most valuable could have multiple interpretations. Now, if you heard something like that, let's say you're named Businessman of the Year for your company. You've worked long and hard. You made the right contacts. You talked to the right people. You went out there and you got it done for yourself and the company. And somebody that's a contemporary or somebody who you thought was a friend says, well, you know, I know he was Businessman of the Year, but, you know, if I wasn't sick those 8 days, I'd have been in the same category. I'd have been on that line. How would you take that? You would say, I know you're not shading what I just did. If you don't like it, be better, and then we can have a different conversation. Steph Curry heard that. His response.
I've gotten really good at ignoring people. So that is the theme of the last 2 years. So I'm all right.
Another slight against Golden State that they'll take that way. Anytime they poke that bear when it comes to Golden State, what has happened? That team was lucky last year. The league will catch up to them this year. They won 73 games. Steph Curry gets injured. Well, now we're starting to see the weakening of Golden State. Portland will have a chance to surprise. Then he busted them in the face for 40 points, 17 points in overtime, and then 29-11 in a clinching game. Believe me, people are laughing about it. It was not a laughing matter to Steph Curry.
I've gotten really good at ignoring people. So that is the theme of the last 2 years. So I'm all right.
The theme of the last 2 years. The next time an athlete, a coach, or a celebrity says, we don't hear what people say about us, we don't listen to that kind of stuff, but nonsense. And you can use whatever word you like, profane or non-profane, you'd be correct. Because it is bull. Steph Curry didn't hide from the fact. I'm sure he rolled his eyes when he said, I can't even enjoy this. I'm a unanimous MVP. It wasn't like he went out there when he received the award and he said, I deserve this. He said, hey, I'm humbled by this. He said, Michael Jordan was never unanimous MVP. Neither was LeBron James, but I'm the first. That was unfathomable to him. And when he got the award and made his speech and thanked his family, what happened after that? All his teammates were up on stage with him. He called them up. So when he heard that, he was like, really? Another one of these statements the last couple of years? All right, we'll see. Another reason why I'm hoping for Cavs Warriors. The two best players on the planet playing against each other. And you know LeBron does not like the love that Steph Curry's been getting. And Steph Curry heard everything LeBron said, even though LeBron was not exactly wrong. The Cubs you know about. Another team may be just as good that you don't. That's next on ESPN. Gotta wish happy birthday to my man Stevie Wonder. He is always going to be terrific, always forever young to me on the Freddie Coleman Show on ESPN Radio. Also the ESPN app and Sirius XM Channel 80. It is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Keep those great tweets coming in at the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed at Coleman ESPN. That is my handle. And guys, you know how to make your girl smile. You do that with 1-800-Flowers. They make any occasion special. This week only. Order 12 beautiful Gabbaro daisies plus a vase for just $29.99 at 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. That's 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. Yeah, you know how good the Chicago Cubs are. Without any doubt, they're the best team in Major League Baseball. There's a team in the same city that could be just as good. They have a guy in Chris Sale. Good luck to you trying to deal with this guy the way he's been pitching all season long.
They had a three-man crew at the time. The 1-2 swung and a miss. Castro's out. Good morning, good afternoon, good night on strikes. For Sale, that's his 4.
It's hard to get excited if you're 670 to score when he does that all the time. Seriously. Or WLS, who covers the White Sox. They're like, yeah, he's 8-0. Oh, ERA 1.67. Oh, those Chicago White Sox, they continue to take care of business. They beat the New York Yankees 7-1. He became only the 4th White Sox pitcher to win his opening 8 starts, the first to do that since John Garland did it in 2005. And believe the Cubs are going to be that story. They just keep winning and winning and winning.
Next pitch from Lariano. This ball's blasted to left. Deep to left center field. Marte going back. This ball is gone. 3rd home run of the day for the Cubs. 2nd here in the 5th inning. Ross with home run number 3. Cubs up 8-0.
They wound up winning 9-4. David Ross, friend of the show, by the way, FOS, doing his thing once again with that home run. So the Cubs will continue to be that story because, say it with me, it's been 1908 since they won a World Series. But the White Sox and Chris Sale, and I know it's early for a lot of you when it comes to Major League Baseball. I'm not trying to sway you one way or the other. But as good as the Cubs have been, that White Sox team may not be far behind. They may be a lot closer than you think. And for my money, anytime they had interleague play, you knew about the usual suspects. Mets, Yankees, Dodgers, Angels, Royals, Cardinals. I had a chance to go to a White Sox Cubs interleague series. It may have been the most fun I've had at a ballpark that I can remember. At Wrigley Field, both of the fans were there. Beautiful sunny weekend that happened in the beautiful city of Chicago. It was pretty cool being a part of that. I was part of the first interleague series with the Mets and Yankees, and then I went to the Cubs-White Sox series the next year. It was so much fun having those two teams in that city, a great sports city that is Chicago, and being a part of that. And the best part was I had no rooting interest. It wasn't like the year before. It was Mets-Yankees. I was hoping the Yankees would lose all the time. But as a non-Cubs fan, non-White Sox fan, that was pretty cool. Chris Sale is a filthy McNasty. I'm telling you. We give a lot of love for Clayton Kershaw, and we should at the Dodgers. Jake Arrieta, what he's been able to do, and we should for the Chicago Cubs. But that guy, Chris Sale, is pitching as well as anybody right now in Major League Baseball. Do not sleep on the White Sox. Speaking of not sleeping, Rob Manfred, I don't know what he's trying to do as the new commissioner of Major League Baseball, but man, oh man, he is not fooling around. Jose Reyes had that domestic violence incident in the offseason when he was on vacation with his woman. Rob Manfred let it be known when he took over for Bud Selig that those kind of things were not just going to be brushed aside. He was like, look, we want our players to act right, and when they don't act right, to put it in my terms, we are going to snatch them, period. In the story, and he was not fooling around with that. Well, Jose Reyes got suspended. Tim Kirkson put it out there as an ESPN Major League Baseball insider. If you don't believe that Rob Manfred is trying to send a message.
This is Rob Manfred, the commissioner, saying we're simply not going to put up with anything involved with domestic violence here. I thought this was a fair treatment, and yet it's still so difficult to figure out what's fair with so little precedent involved. It's roughly twice as much as Aroldis Chapman got. And it's significant, again, just like Chapman, that there's no appeal here.
Yeah, Rob Manfred's like, look, I could wait for an appeal, but also now I got the Major League Baseball Players Association on my side. So when you guys do something like that, you put yourself in those situations. You put women, children, other people in harm's way with domestic violence. This is what's going to happen. I don't have to wait for an appeal. And now you got a decision if you're the Colorado Rockies, because you're not going to have this player, Jose Reyes, for a minute. Tim Kirkson, continue to speak.
This is going to be tricky for the Rockies because they already have a shortstop in Trevor Story, who's had a fascinating beginning to his career and a sensational first month of the season. But they're going to have to bring him in because the union and everyone else is saying he's on your team starting May the 31st, and they'll have to figure out exactly how they're going to use him.
And Jose Reyes is not going to appeal it. He's not. He put out a statement, apologized for everything that happened. Sorry to the Rockies organization, teammates, fans, most of the family. He said that his wife, Catherine, has remained by his side throughout the whole thing, and he's going to be forever grateful for that. Now, he's going to lose over $6.2 million in salary. He's going to lose $6.2 million in salary. I wonder if he's going to have a job when he comes back on May 31st. The apology is one thing, but the Colorado Rockies, they've been awful quiet about this whole situation. They haven't said anything in terms of for or against, whatever that is. Even Walt Weiss was speaking loud but not giving it away as a manager. He said that the club has shown me they're adaptable, not worried about it, not a concern for me right now. We have a good thing going, and our guys handle adversity well. You think that's kind of code that when he comes back, they're going to try to trade this guy? And let Jose Reyes and whatever distraction he's going to be, let that be somebody else's problem? I'm sure the organization had to sit down. This is just my hunch, but I got a pretty good hunch here. I'm sure the organization got together and said, don't say anything good or bad. Let it be known we're going to adapt to this. And then when he comes back, we'll find a way to move him away. We'll find a way to get rid of this guy. So whatever precedence Major League Baseball was trying to set, this comes now down to the Colorado Rockies, and what are they going to do? We saw the Dallas Cowboys. They came to their senses with Greg Hardy, didn't they? Because last year, Jerry Jones, their owner, said, he has the kind of leadership that we like. He has the kind of leadership that we want. And I'm sure plenty of people just put their head in their hands and went, oh, Jerry, what are you doing? Are you not paying attention? And then the minute that the offseason happened, they could not have run away from Greg Hardy quick enough. It seems to me the Colorado Rockies have already done that. They've already distanced themselves away from what Jose Reyes was involved in on that night, October 31st in Hawaii, where an argument turned physical between him and his wife. I got the sense the Colorado Rockies were not waiting for the commissioner to make a decision. They had already decided to do that. And I'm sure Jose Reyes, the apology, it's sincere. I don't doubt that it is sincere, what he had to say. That doesn't mean he's going to get another opportunity. Major League Baseball brought the hammer down. That hammer is not going to be as strong as the hammer that will be brought down upon him of the team that I think in about 20, 30 days he will no longer be a part of. Oklahoma City is ready for the Golden State Warriors, but they're still getting no love. Why? That's next on ESPN Radio's Freddie Coleman Show. It is the Freddie Coleman Show on ESPN Radio, also on Sirius XM Channel 80, as well as the ESPN app. If you miss any show, it's all right. I'll make sure you can hear a previous one. All you have to do is listen on demand at the ESPN app. For the full experience, you can subscribe to the Best of Podcast, all available in the Listen tab of the ESPN app. I think it's going to be a fun series starting on Monday. Western Conference Finals, Oklahoma City on one side, Golden State on the other. Yeah. Don't you get the sense people are still shocked that Oklahoma City beat San Antonio in the series? Like, how did that happen? It's like people saw a unicorn or something. That Oklahoma City, with two of the five best players in the world, found a way to take down San Antonio. And I remember when the series was tied at 2, somebody said, how can you still believe that Oklahoma City has a chance? I said, perimeter defense by San Antonio. They struggle with quick guys all year long. And they did struggle with Russell Westbrook, especially when he dialed it back and knew when to speed up and knew when to slow down. And then the big people, Steven Adams, as well as Enes Kanter, were just living large on the boards. Las Vegas still not giving them a lot of love. Now, you don't have to worry about Steph Curry giving them love. Oh, yeah, he has plenty of respect for the guy he's going to be seeing a lot of in this series, that Russell Westbrook fellow.
You can never let your guard down. You got to try to think one step ahead, get back in transition, not let him get ahead of steam, and try to, as much as you can, make him play in the crowd. Because one guy is not going to be able to stop him. It takes everybody on the court and everybody being on the string.
But Las Vegas not giving Oklahoma City any love, unlike Steph Curry. Golden State opening as a 7.5-point favorite, according to Bet Online. Vegas Insider has them as a full 10-point favorite. Even though Steph Curry not 100%, we saw Draymond Green get banged up in the series versus the Portland Trailblazers, and yet that belief is still there. Still there for Golden State. I think it's going to be a better series than maybe Las Vegas is giving Oklahoma City credit for. I still think Golden State's going to win in 7. But if Oklahoma City pulls this off like they did against San Antonio, if you're shocked, don't be. Oklahoma City proved that they can handle adversity, handle in-team adversity, get past that, make adjustments, and get to the Western Conference Finals. This series may not be as much of a blowout, in my opinion, that Las Vegas thinks it's going to be for Golden State. But then again, Vegas knows, baby. Vegas knows. The house always wins. We'll see. Always good to have anybody who stops by the Freddie Coleman Show. Thanks to the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line in my house. Always good to have my buddy Doug Glanville, ESPN Major League Baseball analyst, joining me in studio. I'm so used to seeing you out in the field and covering games with everybody else. But I talked about the Chicago White Sox, that they may be as good as the Chicago Cubs, but nobody is talking about that. What are your thoughts, what we've seen from the White Sox, especially Chris Sale, who's now 8-0 with an ERA 1.67?
Oh, White Sox, fantastic team. And it's amazing where they came from a year ago, frustrated with their defense. The pitching was inconsistent. The offense was non-existent. I mean, they just had a disastrous year. And they made some real quick changes, a lot of it through free agency. They signed a guy like Jimmy Rollins. They brought in Lowry with some energy, Frazier. And that's just changed the culture immediately. And I talked to Kenny Williams, who's done work, obviously, as a GM. And he said, this has brought sort of a culture shift that he likes. He likes the energy that they're bringing, the leadership. And their pitching has been fantastic. I mean, Sale and Latos, where he came from, and once again, another signing. And their defense has also elevated the game. So when you have all parts of your game improving, they have a lot of tools. And they're shaped similar like the Cubs. You have that top-notch ace, the Arrieta guy, all these other good starters, some young guys that are, have a nice future. That's a tough team.
Who's the best pitcher in Major League Baseball right now, in your opinion?
Well, you got to say Arrieta. I mean, I don't know what legend he keeps breaking, but it's like every time he touches the ball, it's record setting. And, the fact that he had the greatest second half in history last year, and all he's done is continue that into this season. He's on a run that's unheard of. Now, Clayton Kershaw has to be in that story. Something about Kershaw, as good as he is, he has a little bit of an under the radar aspect of it.
Really?
But because he's has more strikeouts. He's a Scherzer type of strikeout guy with an Arrieta type of ERA. He's like the combination.
Right.
And he's been fantastic for, since he ever touched the major leagues.
Manny Machado not getting a lot of love for the Baltimore Orioles, but he should. He's been terrific for this team. They're in first place in the American League East. I know it's still early. The Red Sox, apparently they can't stop scoring runs, but they have suspect pitching. But the Orioles have won 6 in a row. What have they been able to do that's been under the radar that a lot of people have not been able to see?
Well, a lot of it is their bullpen. It's not really – I mean, they've been good for a while, but they've been fantastic this season. And considering their rotation is not really built to be this sort of 9-inning complete game, they're set up to kind of go 6 and then hand it off. And their bullpen has been really fantastic this season. I mean, they live and die by the home run. That's their game. I think they scored the highest percentage of their runs by home run. But, a guy like Machado, who is really into that MVP conversation now. He does everything well. He runs. He'll steal bases. He's got the power game, and he's a phenomenal defender. These guys with Adam Jones and Chris Davis, I mean, who do you pitch to? Yeah,
they can break. And if they get a hold of one, it's not going to stay in the ballpark for long. ESPN's Doug Glanville, ESPN Major League Baseball analyst in studio on ESPN Radio. Seattle Mariners, another team flying under the radar. They're in first place in the AL West. I know they pay the price for playing out there in the Pacific Northwest, but Robinson Cano in his 3rd season has been terrific for this team. They've won 3 in a row. What else about this team that people who don't know now may need to know if they stay in front in the AL West?
Same answer as Baltimore Orioles. Phenomenal bullpen. This bullpen is incredible. And by the way, 2 of them are on my fantasy team, so I'll throw that out there. But that's kind of how I found out about them. But they have guys like, guys you never heard of, like Nick Vincent, right? And they have guys in AAA rehabbing to get back that could be closers on other team. I mean, it is deep, and they have a lefty-righty matchup. But what I like about it it's like, let's look at the Yankees, right? You have these phenomenal arms at the end: Miller, Betances, Chapman. So those are 3 guys. So you get to the 7th, you're good to go. But the bridge happens in the 5th and 6th. You need those guys too, and the lefty-righty matchup to get through the inning. That's what Seattle has. They have those guys, and they have these specialists, right?
Yeah.
So, and combine that with the offense and having the king on the mound and King Felix Hernandez, you have a team that's going to be really good.
We talked about a little what's right. I'm going to do a little what's wrong. You tell me the first thing that comes to your mind. What's wrong with the Kansas City Royals, the defending world champs at 17 and 18?
Their run production is down 1 run a game from last year. I mean, that's the big issue. They've only scored 10 runs as of yesterday in terms of out of that leadoff hole. They're not getting that production. The rotation has been horrible, starting pitching, which is never a strength, but the bullpen can't even carry it at this point. So they have a few things wrong right now, but the fact that they're still in the mix shows that they're still a good ball club.
What's wrong with Matt Harvey, the Dark Knight, the pitcher of the New York Mets?
Harvey certainly early on went through a lot of almost overthrowing, trying to do too much. And there was a little bad luck in it. All the hits seemed to come with runners in scoring position. And it wasn't just sort of bad, sort of a bad approach. It was genuinely a luck factor to that. And, he's kind of sliding into the shadow a little bit, the Dark Knight, right?
Yes.
I mean, you have Syndergaard, you have guys, right? And that may not be a bad thing. Being the ace has its responsibilities, and he was like a preordained ace. He's still going to be a good pitcher. He's just going to find that rhythm to get to the sort of great level that's expected. And that's what's hard when you have those high expectations. It's like nothing becomes good enough. And he seems to be pressing within that. And Colorado's not a place you want to work it out.
Yeah, and he didn't work it out well at all tonight. Gave up a lot of runs early. What is wrong with the NL West as a division?
Well, you see parity. I still like how that may shake down. Arizona Diamondbacks is an example. They lost A.J. Pollock. That was devastating. He was like the difference maker, the center fielder, all-star. They still have Paul Goldschmidt. They still have a phenomenal offense. Greinke has not really lined up well in Arizona. It's a hitter's paradise, and he signed as a free agent pitcher. It's almost like signing with the Rockies as a free agent pitcher. So that's not worked out as well. So you have some like underperforming going on the pitching side. I think the Dodgers and the Giants are going to, be good teams. They'll be a lot better than the sort of 500 that they're flirting with. Right now they're sort of sorting through a lot of changes. But you look at the Giants' rotation, that potential, and their offense has been a little bit better than some of the years they won the World Series. So I think in the end they'll be a good division, but it's hard when you're seeing the Cubs run away and you see the Pirates, these some elite teams really playing well.
Doug, always good to see you, bud. Have a great week, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right, Freddie. Good seeing you, man.
He's a great follow on Twitter at Doug Glanville, ESPN Major League Baseball analyst Doug Glanville joining me in studio on the Freddie Coleman Show. Tonight's Game 6 mattered and did not matter at the same time. That's next on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
This is the Freddie Coleman Show on ESPN Radio.
And ESPNradio.com.
Hope everything is good with you. Thanks for joining the Freddie Coleman Show that is presented by Progressive Insurance. Anytime you want to stop by, you can do that on Twitter at Coleman ESPN. Also at the 1-800, that's the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. Don't forget the phone number is always there for you at 888-729-3776. That's 888-SAY-ESPN. So we got a Game 6, and now we're going to get a Game 7, mainly because two guys. Miami went small, by the way. They looked like something out of the Hoosiers movie. I thought Eric Spoelstra was going to act like Gene Hackman being Norman Dale going, how many passes before we take a shot? 4. They went small. Serrano matched up early, but then going Dragic and Dwayne Wade said, we'll see y'all on Sunday up in the north.
Dragic on the dribble, back to Dang, back to Dragic left wing. Dragic got Carroll to back up his jump shot. Up and in! Oh, Dragic! Don't get too close, you'll burn your fingers. He's got 28 now. And it goes off to Rosen, and it will find Johnson. Johnson, no look inside. Biombo swatted away by Wade. And back with it will come Dwayne Wade. What a block from behind by Wade. Now Wade, left side. Wade, nowhere to go. Wade, out to Richardson, back to Wade. 10 on the shot clock. 6 minutes left in this game. Wade on the dribble. Going to go right in. Layup. Got it to go, Wade. Down room inside. 18 for Father Prime.
WAXY with the call. So he was Optimus Prime in that fourth quarter, what Dwayne Wade was able to do. We're going to get a Game 7, and it mattered. It always matters when we get a Game 7. You can catch that Sunday, 3:30 Eastern Time on ABC. It's a big honor. You're playing on the road. It's a winner-take-all. That excitement. It's two of the sweetest words in sports, Game 7. And it still is not going to matter because the Cleveland Cavaliers are sipping Mai Tais. They have their feet up. They're getting manicures and pedicures. They're getting mani-pedis to make their bodies and minds feel so much better. That's the kind of run that Cleveland has been on, where they're clearly head and shoulders above everybody else in the Eastern Conference. I'm not telling you anything that you don't know. And yeah, a sexier matchup would be seeing LeBron James against his old mates. One on the bench of Chris Bosh, another on the floor in Dwayne Wade, trying to keep him from getting to the NBA Finals for the 6th straight year. If Cleveland wins, LeBron James will be in an NBA Finals, part of an NBA Finals for the 6th straight year. Well done by him. And Dwayne Wade's going to keep him from doing that if they can find a way to win Game 7. But just hearing what Dwayne Casey, he's one of our favorites, by the way, always has been good to us, loves coming on our show. He listens to the show. Believe me, I've been critical of Toronto, so I hope he's still a friend. But just hearing Dwayne Casey after tonight, it just seemed that longing of, man, we didn't win Game 6. I hope we have enough to win Game 7.
We came here to try to win the game. I mean, we didn't come here with a 7-game series in mind. It's been a great series. They're a championship caliber team, well-coached team, but we came here to try to win the game. We wasn't coming in wanting the Game 7. We didn't, they did an excellent job of setting the tempo and the style of play early, and we didn't adjust to it as far as guarding the basketball, containing the basketball, keeping it in front of us. They kind of went away from their offense and just were putting their head down and just going one-on-one, and we didn't do a good job of containing the ball.
Yeah, and he knows that, okay, the pressure, once again, clearly on us playing a Game 7 at home. He has belief in his players. I don't doubt that. But just hearing that a little bit, he said, man, I hope we realize that the way we played in Game 6, we can't just automatically assume that because we won a Game 7 so far during this playoff run versus the Indiana Pacers that we'll be able to do this. They have a guy on the other side that is having a lot of fun having his team back in Dwayne Wade of the Miami Heat. And that doesn't mean that if LeBron James was not on his team, shall I say, if LeBron James was on his team, that he would still be bothered by that. No, I think Dwayne Wade likes being that main gun again, having his organization back. And that's no disrespect to LeBron James, what those two meant to each other and always will mean to each other. Those two are boys. But you can just hear it in his voice, not only during the post-game press conferences, but even talking about being excited for a Game 7, even though he's not playing it in Miami.
It's different. Game 7 is all, you're really going to continue to keep playing or your season's over. It's the reality of it. So you got to give a little more. You got to do a little more. Obviously, it's a great environment to be in, I think for us and for Toronto to be able to put ourselves in a position to get to this Game 7. It's phenomenal, but you got to give everything you have. There's no tomorrow. And from that standpoint of that series, that's the way we approach it. So I think it's going to be two teams, trying to give everything they have, and best team win, man.
The only thing I'll say about this series on ESPN Radio is thank God the basketball's gotten a little bit better the further and further we've gone into the series. Because games 1 through 4, Game 5 wasn't bad. Game 6 tonight was really good. I just love Kyle Lowry did everything possible to keep his team in it. I thought he ran out of gas in the fourth quarter. And after Goran Dragic got it started from Miami, Dwayne Wade finished off Toronto. But when you think about it, there's no way I'm trusting either one of these teams to beat Cleveland in the Eastern Conference Finals. I said it before the playoffs got started. I even said before the end of the regular season, there's no possible way the Cleveland Cavaliers should not be in the NBA Finals. There's not one team in the Eastern Conference that is going to challenge them. I thought the only team that could give them sort of a challenge in terms of winning a game or two would have been Miami. except that Hassan Whiteside, we don't know when he's going to come back and what kind of Hassan Whiteside are we going to see. And Chris Bosh is going to be on the bench. He's not going to play at any point as long as Miami is still in the playoffs. So from that standpoint, I'm thinking, God bless them for getting to a Game 7. And I thought Miami would win Game 6. I didn't think Toronto was going to beat them. But Miami knows the pressure is clearly not on them. So tonight mattered. But when you think about it with the Cleveland Cavaliers, it is not going to matter. I'd be stunned whoever wins this series gets to a 6-game series with Cleveland in the Eastern Conference Finals. I can't see it happening. That's how dominant the Cavaliers have been. I thought Robert Horry pointed out something today on the show The Jump, hosted by Rachel Nichols. Great show, by the way. Had her, Brian Windhorst, ESPN NBA insider, and Robert Horry, all those championship rings. He said, yeah, Cleveland living high on the hog is great. They've earned that right. Can't wait to see what's going to happen when they get punched in the face. And he said, I don't think that's happening to the NBA Finals when they face Golden State. He has no love for Oklahoma City either. And he says, no way is Cleveland losing to anybody in Eastern Conference playoffs. But he says, I want to see what they're able to do. He said, I don't want to hear anything about chemistry, guys getting along. There's a togetherness. There's a brotherhood. He's like, yeah, because they're winning. They have not even been threatened to lose yet. When they have a loss, I have a little adversity. Yeah, I want to see. Robert Horry basically said it's all great because winning is a great sanitizer. A little loss here, a little adversity there. He says, we'll find out who the real Cleveland Cavaliers are, and we'll see. The brotherhood thing, okay, I think that's fantastic for them, that guys are getting along. Guys feel a part of it because they know that nobody in the Eastern Conference is going to beat them, and they have lived for the moment of getting back to the NBA Finals, and they want Golden State on the other side. They don't want to go OKC. They'll take it, but they don't want them. They want Golden State on the other side so they can try to right that wrong that they felt happened last year. Game 7, I hope is going to be better. Tonight wasn't bad. It was the best game of the series, but it took us to get to that in Game 6. What is Game 7 going to be like? We'll find out on Sunday, 3:30 Eastern Time on ABC and ESPN Radio. By the way, ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. They will compare rates for you so you get the best deal, even if it's not with them, saving you time and money. Now that's Progressive. Call or click today. A favorite may be leaving one of our favorite shows. That's next on the Freddie Coleman Show. It is the Freddie Coleman Show on ESPN Radio, also on Sirius XM Channel 80 and the ESPN app. It is presented by Progressive Insurance. I don't think there's any doubt that the TNT crew that does Inside the NBA, Ernie Johnson, Shaquille O'Neal, Charles Barkley, along with Kenny Smith, I don't think anybody has more fun at their jobs than those four guys do. They just got inducted into a Broadcasting Hall of Fame as a group. So now Shaquille O'Neal and Charles Barkley are part of the Basketball Hall of Fame in Springfield, Massachusetts, and their show Inside the NBA and TNT is a part of a Broadcasting Hall of Fame. They're must-see, they're must-hear. The intervention they had the other night, that's what I'm calling it, with Dwight Howard, where Charles Barkley and Kenny Smith, they were not shy with questions. Matt Weiner did a great job as a mediator, also arbitrator with that whole thing. It was riveting TV. Kenny Smith may not be there too much longer if you believe the report that came out that he had a great meeting with the Houston Rockets owner, Leslie Alexander, and general manager Daryl Morey for 2.5 to 3 hours at the home of Alexander in South Florida. Now, Kenny Smith played for the Houston Rockets, helped them to win 2 championships when he was there with Hakeem Olajuwon, Clyde Drexler back in 1994 and 1995. He said that they had a great meeting on Tuesday. He also said, I'm a Rocket at heart. This is just a step. I've always been interested at some point in coaching, so I'm here. We're going to see. I have a heck of a job right now at TNT that I'm extremely happy with, so there's got to be a lot of parameters on both ends to make things happen. That sounds like a guy that wants to go, doesn't he? When you end the sentence, there's got to be a lot of parameters on both ends to make things happen. What does that mean? Money. A whole boatload of it. TNT, I'm sure they're paying Kenny Smith a nice chunk of change, especially the kind of money that he brings along Shaquille O'Neal, Charles Barkley, and Ernie Johnson. But for him to say, I've always been interested at some point in coaching, we're going to see, there's got to be a lot of parameters on both ends to make things happen. That sounds like a guy that believes he is ready to do that. He's ready to make that next step. Now, Jeff Van Gundy is also a candidate for that job. You know him working for ESPN ABC, the lead color analyst on with Mark Jackson, Mike Breen, part of the NBA coverage. And he also coached in Houston before. But Kenny Smith has kept in contact with this organization. He even said with the Rockets owner, they have known each other as a 24-year friendship. I don't think Jeff Van Gundy has that kind of relationship with the team that he used to coach, and they wound up firing him, and he's done great in his post-career being on the air and covering the NBA. I don't think Kenny Smith is tired of Charles Barkley. I don't think that's it. I don't think Charles Barkley and his witty stylings and his honesty are driving Kenny Smith into the NBA profession, because Charles Barkley does not mince words about anything. For example, on Friday, when he was on Russillo and Cannell, he talked about Tim Duncan. Man, it is time for you that you should just go on about your business. He said that. He also talked about that two guys are better than Steph Curry.
Listen, LeBron and Kawhi Leonard, to me, are the two best players in the world. Steph Curry is the best offensive player in the world. But listen, I have no problem with guys thinking they're first of all, that's the only way you're going to be LeBron James or Russ Westbrook or Durant or Kawhi Leonard. If you don't think you're the best, you're not going to be the best. OKC got a much better chance of beating the Warriors than the Spurs. You know, when I picked OKC to win that series, Shaq and Ernie like, you're kidding, right? I said, man, let me tell you something. I don't think anybody can beat Oklahoma City but Oklahoma City. They make a bunch of what-the-hell plays when the game is on the line. If they don't make those plays, it's going to be tough for anybody to beat them. They got more talent than anybody in the NBA.
I don't think that's why Kenny Smith's leaving, because he and Charles Barkley are boys. Although there are plenty of times that I love when Charles Barkley says something, Kenny Smith just goes, dude, really? You can't mean that. That's not what you said. But Kenny Smith wants to get a chance to do that. When you say certain parameters have to be met on both ends, that's code for, if the price is right, I'll leave Atlanta in a second, because I believe I'm the guy that can get you to another championship, a place the Houston Rockets have not been since 1995. And yet, a guy who is synonymous with New York, Kenny Smith was born in New York. A guy that's synonymous with New York, Patrick Ewing, can't get a sniff, huh? Now, he interviewed for the Memphis Grizzlies job. He also interviewed for the Sacramento Kings job. And I said to myself, poor Patrick, you probably have no chance of getting that job. I would love to know what that reason is, because he's been a worthwhile assistant, not just for the last couple of years. He's been a worthwhile assistant for more than a second in the NBA. Steve Clifford has said, as the Charlotte Hornets head coach, that, yeah, Patrick is involved in what we do when it comes to game plans, scouting, everything. He has all the requisite tools to be not just an NBA head coach, but a quality winning NBA head coach. And I'm paraphrasing what he said. And yet, Patrick Ewing, it seems, I don't know if he smells bad. I don't know if his breath stinks, whatever that is. But there's something out there about Patrick Ewing that an owner or a general manager looks at him and says, all right, we'll bring him in, but we have no reason to think that we're going to hire that guy. Yet, Kenny Smith has not even been an assistant in the NBA. He has a great relationship with the Houston Rockets as an ownership, and yet they're like, well, we'll think about that guy quickly. Jason Kidd retired 1 second from the NBA with the Nets and stepped right in to be a head coach. And Patrick Ewing's like, what? He has to look at that and say, well, wait a minute. You know, I've done what you guys have told me to do. Patrick Ewing is almost like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar has forgotten more about basketball than a lot of people will ever know. And you're trying to tell me that one NBA team thought he would be a good head coach, or to give him an opportunity to be a good head coach in the NBA? Patrick Ewing on a different level is going through the same thing. You would think the New York Knicks, a team that he put on his back, on his shoulders for years, a one-man gang, a one-man army, single-handedly carried that franchise. You think he would get at least an interview opportunity with the Knicks long before Phil Jackson got there. They think that Kurt Rambis and Derek Fisher were better options. What is that all about when it comes to Patrick Ewing? Now, I hope it's just not one of those interviews as a courtesy. You're not doing yourself any favors, and that's an insult to a guy like Patrick Ewing. It really, really is. So I hope that Memphis interviewing him, Sacramento when they interviewed him, that they were serious as thinking about him as a candidate. But yet, I still wonder if that was something that, well, he's Patrick. He's a Hall of Famer. Somebody said, talk to him. Okay, we'll play along, but we're going to hire somebody else. I wonder how much of a blow that is to Patrick Ewing, that they're willing to give chances to other guys who have not even been an assistant coach on the bench. Willing to do that, but they continue to overlook a guy that is a basketball Hall of Famer and has the tools, seemingly based on what he has done as an assistant coach. No, I know. I didn't forget. If you thought I forgot, come on, shame on you. I love the NBA playoffs. Stanley Cup playoffs have been better. They really, really have. Now, granted, you don't have Charles Barkley talking about hockey, although that'd be fantastic if that ever happened. Hearing like Charles Barkley talking about hockey, that'd be great. But tonight, Tampa Bay, they left a lot to be talked about.
It's still loose, and Palat forces it out to center ice. 3-on-1 across the blue line. Palat, left circle. Palat in front. Druin shoots. Score! Jonathan Druin finishes on a 3-on-1, and it's 3-0 Lightning.
Wow!
With 1:35 left in the second.
They really need to let people know how they really feel about a goal on WFLA, the flagship station of the Tampa Bay Lightning. They are fast, they are fierce, they are terrific, and now they have a 1-0 lead. After beating Pittsburgh 3-1 in the Eastern Conference Finals, they lost their goalie Bishop. They said, I guess x-rays showed that there was nothing structurally wrong when he suffered that injury in the first period. Doesn't matter with that team, the way they play. They get after it. It was a really good night in Florida. You got Tampa Bay on one side winning game 1 of their series, and the Miami Heat forcing a game 7 by winning game 6, 103-91 over Toronto. Game 7 on Sunday, 3:30 Eastern time on ABC. We know nothing will stop Cleveland from getting to the NBA Finals. How can Oklahoma City stop Golden State from getting there? That's next on ESPN Radio. Thanks for joining the Freddie Coleman Show on ESPN Radio, Sirius XM Channel 80, and the ESPN app. It is presented by Progressive Insurance. Big thanks to anybody who stops by the show. They do that thanks to Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. And boy, he ran over here. And the he I'm talking about is Amin Elhassan, ESPN NBA insider, guru, analyst, whatever you want to call him. And believe me, when I say he ran over here, he literally did that coming off the set of NBA Tonight. By the way, what time is that going to be on?
1 a.m.?
1 a.m.?
Yes. Well, I believe so.
You believe so? I appreciate you getting in touch with the Usain Bolt to join me, number one. Number two, I know that Toronto, Miami is getting to a game 7. I don't think there's any way whoever wins that series is going to keep Cleveland from getting to the NBA Finals. But how can Oklahoma City keep Golden State from making a rematch from what we saw last year?
Oof. Well, I mean, it goes without saying, obviously, Durant and Westbrook have to be stellar. Probably more so Durant because he's got the clearest advantage out of anybody on the floor. But beyond that, I think the key to why they beat the Spurs wasn't because of the brilliance of Durant Westbrook. Obviously, they showed up. They played big in their wins. But it was really about the Spurs having no answers for Steven Adams and Enes Kanter to a lesser extent. Those two bigs were able to exert their will on the offensive glass, on post-ups, and score around the paint. And at the same time, they made life incredibly difficult for Tim Duncan and LaMarcus Aldridge and David West. And the Spurs couldn't overcome that. And that proved to be the margin of difference in that series. They just couldn't, when they tried to go small, they couldn't protect the defensive glass. When they tried to go big, they just couldn't score over those guys. And so pretty much that needs to happen. If Oklahoma City gets into a track meet, small ball, basketball extravaganza, they're going to lose that. So they need to be able to exert their physical dominance over Golden State if they want to have a chance.
Real quick, getting back to San Antonio, I still think Tim Duncan is going to come back for one more year. Where do you stand?
I think so, too. He had a great year this year. He had a great year. He had a bad playoff series against the Thunder. I don't think that's going to be his lasting memory.
Right.
And I definitely don't think he wants to go out on that kind of note either. I'm not saying he has to win a championship to retire. I'm just saying I don't think he wants to be remembered as the guy who, at the end of that game 6, he almost looked like he was scared to shoot.
Mm-hmm.
And it was such a weird experience watching that. And so I think he'll be back. I mean, he's better than 75% of the bigs in this league right now as an old man. So I think he's back.
What does that say about the bigs in this league?
No, it says a lot about Tim Duncan.
Okay.
He's great. I mean, he's truly, we don't talk about him as one of the greatest players in the game to ever play the game enough, I don't think. You know, when you talk about the sustained excellence, and they won 50 games pretty much every single year. The 5 championships, obviously, deep playoff runs, and being able to change his role from sidekick to the main guy, back to sidekick again. And they're all different types of styles that he's played. He's survived every single era of this game. Every time they say, well, bigs are out, now bigs are in, all that, he's consistently there. Tim Duncan is amazing. And to be honest, maybe part of me, Freddie, is just I don't want to watch a Spurs game where Tim Duncan is in a suit in the crowd sitting next to David Robinson.
I didn't think that. We already got a world with no Prince and David Bowie. I don't know if I'm ready for that with him on the sidelines watching the Spurs play and Tim Duncan not a part of that. Amin Elhassan in the studio on ESPN Radio, getting back to Oklahoma City and Golden State. It seems to me that Oklahoma City has a belief that I did not see under Scott Brooks. I'm not trying to say it's totally Billy Donovan or totally Kevin Durant or totally Russell Westbrook. I think it's a combination of maturity and Billy Donovan maybe having more of a trust factor that Scott Brooks could never get to because it always seemed they were going to bog down. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't agree.
Okay, so
they look like they always look to me. As far as particularly those two guys, Durant and Westbrook, they look like they always look. I think, yes, they've grown as players. Westbrook has grown tremendously over the last 2 or 3 years in terms of his understanding of the game and understanding of his role within the game. And then Durant, his game has grown leaps and bounds, which is really hard to do when you're as good as he is.
True.
Right?
True.
So before people were trying to give most improved to Steph Curry this year, 2 years ago, I thought Kevin Durant should have been most improved for many of the same reasons. It's so hard to get that much better when you're already that great.
Right.
And I think that bears out on the court. Obviously, they've grown, their games have grown, but at the same time, the confidence, I don't think they ever lacked in confidence as a team. I never get a feeling that they doubt themselves or their chances. It's always just, can we make the right plays at the right times? That's been the thing that's dogged them.
Well, why did we see that in the last 3 games that we didn't see consistently at times under Scott Brooks? That's why I feel that way, that that Billy Donovan had something to do with that.
I feel like San Antonio was the one that actually looked uncharacteristically unpoised, more so than Oklahoma City making precision plays and snap decisions. They were just playing their game.
Right.
And San Antonio will normally never make mistakes. They just kept making mistakes over and over again. In those 3-4 losses, they just
they got away from their identity where they were sharing the ball all year long, Amin, and then they decided to go to isolation post-up basketball. Why would Greg Popovich do that?
I don't know. And I'm still trying to figure that out. And, they asked him about it in the press conference, and he said, oh, Billy can give you a better answer than that.
He got salty.
Yeah, he did get salty.
Really salty with him. So, Golden State, I got Golden State winning in 7. What about you?
6. Golden State in 6, and that's just me giving Oklahoma City the benefit of the doubt that there's going to be at least one game where both Westbrook and Durant go supernova at the same time and both score 40. But, honestly, should be 5. It's probably going to be 6. I'm just giving them a courtesy there.
Okay, that's fine. Giving them courtesy. Amin Elhassan giving us the courtesy in studio on ESPN Radio. There was an interesting, not exchange, but I know LeBron James is going to be LeBron James. I wish people could see Amin right now just shaking his head from side to side because he knows where I'm going with this. That he said, hey, I'm not trying to disrespect Steph Curry's MVP, but the term valuable can have so many different meanings. And he threw Steph's stats out there. And Steph responded, you know what? It's been like this the last 2 years. we're going to be all right. I'm going to be okay.
Right.
What kind of game is LeBron James trying to play here?
It reminds me of, I don't know if you ever watched this show, Curb Your Enthusiasm.
With Larry David,
yeah.
Of course.
Remember they had the whole episode about having said that, which, by the way, is one of Steve Kerr's favorite episodes.
It's a great episode.
The idea that, when you say having said that, you can say whatever you want. Say, Freddie, you're a great-looking guy. Having said that,
you're ugly.
You really need to do something about the whole face region, right?
Right.
So LeBron saying, oh, yeah, Steph Curry definitely deserved MVP. Having said that, what is the real meaning of value? Like, oh, get out of here. Get out of here. I mean, it's you know what? This is my message to LeBron. When Shaq lost the MVP trophy to Steve Nash, which I think he rightfully lost, I thought Steve Nash deserved it. But at least Shaq came out and said, that's my MVP trophy.
Mm-hmm.
And much like when Hakeem Olajuwon was playing against the Spurs in 95 and Dave Robinson got the MVP trophy before the game, Kenny Smith famously tells the story, Hakeem looked at it and said, that's my trophy. And then he went out there and destroyed him.
Right.
That's what you do.
Right.
You say it, and then you go out there and prove why everybody was wrong. You don't play this, well, no, he deserves it, but what is the meaning of value? And then today, was it yesterday or today, he won and ups it, and starts talking about Terry Stotts.
Right. Should have been coach of the year over Steve Kerr.
Okay.
Not 2, not 3.
Well done by you, Marvin Prince, number 1. Number 2, with a guy like that, we know he's still under the most pressure anybody in this league.
Right.
And he's brought some of that on himself by what he's done, what he said. Is he still the best player in the league, or is it Steph Curry?
No, Steph Curry is the best player in the league.
I still think it's LeBron.
Here's how I tell you, Freddie. A lot of people think it's LeBron for this reason, because he can do so many things, which he can.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, the best player is the guy who impacts wins and losses more than anybody. So Shaq in 2000 was the best player in this league. Could he shoot threes? No. Was he crossing people over? No, not except for Jerome James.
Right? Why you got to bring Jerome James?
Because he crossed him up. He crossed him up, and it's a famous highlight. Okay?
Guy's minding his own business at Dairy Queen, and now you bring him back to the table.
Keith Kloss as well. He crossed over Keith Kloss as well. but Shaq wasn't running point. Shaq wasn't shooting threes. Shaq wasn't guarding guys on the perimeter and trapping and doing any of these things. He wasn't the best defensive player. He wasn't the best rebounder in the league, but he impacted wins and losses more than anybody. Steph Curry can stand on the floor, never touch the ball, and completely distort your opposing defense. So regardless of whether LeBron can dribble past, shoot, and spin a ball on his nose like a seal and tap dance a rollerblade all at the same time, it still doesn't amount to the same sort of impact that Steph Curry has. And I mean that from an analytics standpoint, and I mean that from a basketball standpoint, from any standpoint you can. Steph Curry impacts wins and losses more than any other player in this league.
Real quick, Heat, Raptors, Game 7, who you got?
Oh, come on. Heat Island. I'm the governor.
Oh, that's right.
I'm the governor.
I don't know what came over me. That was a silly question by me. I should have known better by that. I don't trust Toronto, by the way. So,
they don't trust themselves. 3 wins, and all 3 wins, they look scared as hell.
Oh, he does the hashtag hate hard. Nobody does it better than Amin Elhassan, ESPN NBA insider, front office executive, knows so much about the NBA. Always a pleasure to have him in studio on the Freddie Coleman Show. Always good to talk to you, boss. Take care.
Thank you, sir.
Amin Elhassan steps out. We're going to step in with people who did well like this.
Bro.
And why did Serena Williams do that? That's next on ESPN Radio. Tune in tomorrow. The Los Angeles Dodgers take on the St. Louis Cardinals, presented by Harley Davidson. Coverage begins at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, 5 o'clock on the West Coast on ESPN Radio, ESPNradio.com, and the ESPN app. Thanks for joining me on the Freddie Coleman Show. You can always reach me anytime on Twitter at Coleman ESPN, the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. You can also like the show on Facebook. Let's find out who we really like when they did something good. And when they do that, they get love like this.
Which stars were shining the brightest in sports tonight? You'll find out right now in our latest installment of It's Your Night, Bro.
They asked the question of Goran Dragic, why was he so aggressive in Game 6 for Miami? His answer was, I didn't want to go back to Europe.
Dragic on the dribble, back to Dang, back to Dragic left wing. Dragic got Carroll to back up his jump shot. Up and in! Oh, Dragic! Don't get too close, you'll burn your fingers. He's got 28 now.
A playoff career high 30 points. You heard the call on WAXY. He also had 7 rebounds and 4 assists. He was absolutely tremendous. Set it up for Dwayne Wade to knock them down in the fourth quarter. More importantly, Miami wins Game 6 over Toronto 103-91. Winner take all on Sunday, 3:30 Eastern time on ABC in Toronto. The Heat force a Game 7. And Gorn, you won't have to go to Europe, at least not yet. Speaking of a Florida team doing well, how about the Ning Dynasty down in Tampa Bay?
Still loose, and Palat forces it out to center. 3-on-1 across the blind. Palat, left circle. Palat in front. Druin shoots. Score! Jonathan Druin finishes on a 3-on-1. And it's 3-0 Lightning.
Wow.
With 1:35 left in the second.
Can you imagine they win the Stanley Cup final? If they get to that point, he might not have a voice left on WFLA. Hey, don't look at me that way. I'm not the only one that felt that way. But either way, the Lightning had a game worth shouting about. They lose Brian Bishop, the goaltender, to an injury. Didn't matter. They put it on the Penguins, winning Game 1 on visitors' ice, 3-1 in the Eastern Conference Finals. I don't know how the announcers feel, but the Lightning keep that up. They'll keep shouting maybe all the way to the Stanley Cup. Those Chicago Cubs. Good luck trying to stop them.
Next pitch from Lariano. This ball blasted to left. Deep to left center field. Marte going back. This ball is gone. Third home run of the day for the Cubs. Second here in the 5th inning. Ross with home run number 3. Cubs up 8-0.
670 the score with the call. David Ross, part of a 3-for-4 day with a home run and 3 RBIs. Could we potentially see this year that the Cleveland Cavaliers ending a drought for the city and the Chicago Cubs ending a drought for the franchise? Both could happen in the same year. Hell might freeze over. But right now the Cubs are not frozen. They stay warm. They beat the Pittsburgh Pirates 9-4. They have the best record in baseball because right now they are the best team in baseball. Yeah, Bryce Harper may not have a lot of fans. Tim Kirkchin even said it. Buster Olney said the same thing. He is the most polarizing figure in Major League Baseball. Bryce Harper has 2 words for that. So what?
Here's the set. The runner goes. The pitch is swung on. Hit in the air. Deep right field. Way back goes Stanton. And there it goes. A home run for Bryce Harper. 6 rows deep over the big wall. Home run number 11. And the Nationals have their first lead tonight. Harper circles the bases. The Nationals 4. The Marlins 2.
Nationals radio network with the call and put them back in first place in the NL East. Bryce Harper only had 2 at-bats officially. He made them count with 2 hits, a home run, 2 RBIs you just heard, also 2 base on balls. More importantly, they beat the Miami Marlins 5-3. Bang on Bryce Harper all you want. He'll just keep hitting that ball over the fence. That Chris Sale guy, if you have a bat in your hand, he has the advantage.
They had a 3-man crew at the time. The 1-2 swung and a miss. Castro's out. Good morning, good afternoon, good night on strikes. For Sale, that's his 4th.
Yeah, his 4th, and he had more than that. Complete game shutout, 1 run allowed, 6 hits, 6 strikeouts. He's now 8-0 in the season. ERA 1.67. White Sox could be as good as the Cubs. Could have a Chicago World Series. Can you imagine that great city with baseball in October? White Sox beat the Yankees 7-1. WLS with the call. Chris Sale, he doesn't get a lot of credit, but that guy's good as anybody in Major League Baseball. And special love to Keenan Reynolds. You remember him, the Navy quarterback. That was so terrific. We had so much fun talking with him last year, part of the great campaign he had with Navy football. Well, the U.S. Navy thought so much of him, they have granted him permission to play football for the Baltimore Ravens while fulfilling his military commitment in the Naval Reserves. Now, normally you have that 5-year commitment. Sports, not for you unless you're on a base somewhere serving out your duty. The U.S. Navy's thinking, hey, that's a pretty good recruiting tool. Having that guy who meant so much to our academy, why not? Give him a chance to go out there and play football for the Baltimore Ravens. And if he makes the team, how is that a bad thing while still serving his commitment to the United States Naval Academy? Not only well done, Keenan Reynolds, but well done by the U.S. Navy. It may be a job, but it's also an adventure. Part of the Freddie Coleman Show on ESPN Radio and also the ESPN app. If you missed any Freddie Coleman Show, I got you. Don't worry. If you want to hear a previous one, listen on demand at the ESPN app. For the full experience, you can subscribe to the Best of Podcasts, all available in the Listen tab of the ESPN app. Raise your hand if you ever thought that you looked at dog food and said, oh, yeah, that's appetizing. Nobody? Nobody? Apparently, Serena Williams thought that was a good idea. Now, she has a Yorkshire Terrier called Chip. At the hotel she was staying at during the Italian Open in Rome, she saw a salmon and rice mix. Cost $17 on the menu. She said it looked so good, she decided to give it a try. Now, don't look at me that way. I didn't do this. She put on Snapchat in a video that she posted on YouTube, panning the meal for Fido with the quote, before you judge, look at it. Come on. It looks good. In fact, when I take the food to go, they give me the same food package. It comes with the expensive-looking spoon. I'm like, what the heck? I'm going to try a piece. So she did. She continued. Let's fast forward 2 hours. I thought I was going to pass out. I ran to the bathroom. It tasted weird. It tasted a little bit like a house cleaner kind of thing. I wonder how much house cleaning she's been drinking or eating. But that's another story. But she said Chip liked it and it looked good. Later on, she added, I really don't feel so good. She also joked, I need a life. Yeah, you kind of do, Serena. Isn't there a fella out there for her that can help her out? Come on, Serena, you're a single, good-looking woman. There's got to be somebody out there to keep you from doing things like this. I mean, I've been bored. But I've never been that bored. Where I've looked at that and said, hey, if that's good for Fido, if that's good for Fluffy, I'm going to have that with my meal. And she's in Rome. Anyway, I'm just glad she's okay, at least physically. Dwayne Wade having fun, and that word trust rearing its ugly head again. Next.
This is the Freddie Coleman Show on ESPN Radio.
And ESPNRadio.com.
Freddie Coleman Show is presented by Progressive Insurance. They are the creators of the Name Your Price tool. Choose from a range of coverage options and pick the price that works for you. You'll get a chance to sound off in 15 seconds or less, part of the frenzy that comes your way in 40 minutes on the ESPN app and also Sirius XM Channel 80. So the Miami Heat, I thought they would win Game 6. Was not surprised that they were able to win Game 6 on Friday night versus Toronto. I pretty much said the series was going to go 7. I don't think anybody thought this would be the last series standing. If you had to choose a series that was going to go 7, the prevailing notion was going to be Oklahoma City and San Antonio, right? Toronto, Miami might have gone 7, might not have. Nobody would have thought or could have predicted that would have been the last series standing. But here we are.
Dragic on the dribble, back to Deng, back to Dragic left wing. Dragic got Carroll to back up his jump shot. Up and in! Oh, Dragic! Don't get too close, you'll burn your fingers. He's got 28 now.
That's a great call on WAXY. Miami wins at 103-91. Game 7, 3:30 Eastern time on Sunday on ABC television. And Eric Spoelstra, talking about the man who was not ready to go back to Europe to take care of the offseason. Eric Spoelstra talked about his man, Goran Dragic, having a huge night.
He just keeps on attacking, trying to find ways to help the team. Tonight was his night, and he was aggressive. The only person that feels worse when he doesn't look like Goran is his head coach, because usually it's just either foul trouble or me, the reason why he can't look like him. But he looked like him tonight, and it was at the right time.
Tonight is your night, bro. How about Eric Spoelstra giving a little love to his point guard who had his best playoff game ever? And I thought about this watching what Dwayne Wade was able to do in the fourth quarter, leading them to victory. It's not a turn back the clock thing with him, because he doesn't play the same way when he first got into the league. There's no way that his body would have been able to hold up. I give him all the credit in the world for making the kind of adjustments that he had to make, especially when he has to carry this team. He doesn't have LeBron James, went back to Cleveland, and Chris Bosh. Not saying his NBA career is in doubt, but there has to be a little bit of that dealing with whatever he's dealing with for the second straight year that knocked him out and took away the rest of the regular season and the playoffs when it came to Chris Bosh. I give Dwayne Wade all the credit in the world for what he's been able to do, but I still believe he's underappreciated because of the era that he played in. When you think of the great players of this era, a lot of times you get to a lot of names before you get to him. And he has passed 4 legends, guys like Hakeem Olajuwon and Karl Malone on the all-time playoff list when it comes to scoring. He is enjoying each and every minute of what he's been able to do with this basketball team. They don't have Hassan Whiteside. That guy is terrific as a defensive player. Don't have Chris Bosh, who at times this year before he got injured, before that illness, whatever that is, took away his NBA season this year, was the best player in the Miami Heat team. You can hear it in Dwayne Wade's voice after winning tonight, what he said to Lisa Salters of ESPN.
Dwayne, what was the difference tonight?
Goran Dragic. Goran had a big game for us. He really was on attack all night, and I said we needed somebody to have a special game, and he did that for us.
Well, Father Prime showed up in the fourth quarter. What changed for you in the fourth?
I was aggressive early, but it's all a setup for late in the game. I love the fourth quarter. It's winning time, and it's the time where they put the ball in my hand to make plays.
Game 7 in Toronto.
Yeah.
What's it going to come down to?
It's going to come down to which team play better. It's going to be a fight. Hopefully, we got to go up there and muster up a lot of energy. They're going to have their crowd behind them. We just got to make sure that we start the game off the right way, give ourselves a chance early, and make it a fight.
It's going to be a fun atmosphere in Toronto, but that's going to be a very nervous building. Game 7 on Sunday, for all the obvious reasons. I know they were able to beat the Indiana Pacers to win that Game 7. And you could clearly tell after that Game 7, it was if Toronto said, thank goodness we don't have to hear that nonsense anymore, that we can't take care of home court advantage, that we can't win a series when we have home court advantage. Whew, we don't have to deal with that anymore. And then once again, that word trust is going to come up in terms of can they trust each other and believe in each other that they can do this again. Dwayne Casey clearly understood what kind of opportunity was lost by this team being up 3-2 and not putting away the Miami Heat.
We came here to try to win the game. I mean, we didn't come here with a 7-game series in mind. It's been a great series. They're a championship caliber team. Well-coached team, but we came here to try to win the game. We wasn't coming in wanting the Game 7. We didn't, they did an excellent job of setting the tempo and the style of play early, and we didn't adjust to it as far as guarding the basketball, containing the basketball, keeping it in front of us. They kind of went away from their offense and just were putting their head down and just going one-on-one, and we didn't do a good job of containing the ball.
That coach still believes in his players, but he also knows, man, our guys overall have not dealt with that pressure. We believe we've gotten past that. We got past what happened 2 seasons ago versus the Brooklyn Nets. We lose Game 7 at home. We got past what happened last season. Home court advantage. We could not get out of that first round versus the Washington Wizards. It's one thing to beat the Pacers, and I give the Pacers a lot of credit for pushing Toronto, especially after the Pacers won Game 1. But they got a guy on the other side who is an all-timer in Dwayne Wade, who loves everything about this playoff run. And they see that prize. It's still not going to matter. Cleveland's going to wax whoever wins Game 7 on Sunday. If that series goes to 6 games, the Eastern Conference Finals, I'll be completely surprised, no matter who wins on Sunday. Now, Dwayne Wade looks at that and says, man, I would love to play against LeBron. I understand why he decided to go home. Not hating on a brother for doing that. Hey, the pull of Northern Ohio. You're a native son of that state, Akron's own. Man, we're always going to be tight. That doesn't mean that he does not want to beat him, especially if he's able to do it with the team that he left. Dwayne Wade gets his team back, gets that organization back. No Hassan Whiteside, no Chris Bosh, no LeBron James. He is relishing that opportunity. And especially when Dwayne Wade and Miami are playing with house money compared to Toronto and compared to Cleveland. Cleveland should not have anybody standing in their way, providing that much of a barrier to keep them from the NBA Finals. Their toughest competition should come when they face either Golden State, Oklahoma City, and I still believe it's going to be Golden State. I think they win that series in 7 versus Oklahoma City, but that's for another day. But at the same time, man, oh man, Dwayne Wade would love everything about what is in front of him in Game 7, beating a team on the road, and then staring that beast in the face, his boy once again, in LeBron James. It's like I want to lean towards Miami. Yeah, I'm going to do it. That's right, I'll do it. I thought Miami would win Game 6. I think they win Game 7. I think that pull is too strong with what he's been able to do. And by the fact that he's changed this game and not taxing his body as much. Now, Goran Dragic is not going to get 30, 40 in Game 7. If he does that, then they're going to win anyway. But they're dealing with less pressure than anybody on that side for Toronto. That and those plays in the fourth quarter will be enough for Miami to win that Game 7, 3:30 Eastern Time on ABC. Getting great tweets about Dwayne Wade. I said he's underappreciated in terms of the guys next to. Those guys are just out of their world galaxy players. Tim Duncan, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, got Steph Curry coming up. He's had to deal with the kind of generation of players. Kevin Garnett, what he did, Ray Allen. It seems like those guys get more love than Dwayne Wade. He's underappreciated what he's been able to do with different guys like Shaq, LeBron James, Chris Bosh, etc. Ben R. on Twitter at Coleman ESPN says, I hear you about my boy Dwayne Wade. How many incredible runs he's got to make. #legendary. David, I'm not going to try to pronounce your last name. I'm just going to say David K. He's got a lot of Y's and Z's, and I'm just going to leave that alone. I'll just screw that up. He says, not dissing Wade, but I hate the scoring stat for playoffs. Lots of great players only played 5 games in the first round. I don't think you should punish Dwayne Wade for that. That he was on better teams that kept getting further and further into the playoffs. You think Tracy McGrady wouldn't want to trade with him? Tracy McGrady never got out of the first round. He's reduced to try to disrespect Steph Curry and his MVP season because he could never get out of the first round. Andrew Ortiz says, give me 3 shooting guards you would rather have than Dwayne Wade. Top 5 all-time, hands down, # one of the greatest. Kobe, there's one. That Michael Jordan guy, there's 2. That Jerry West guy, there's 3. That Walt Frazier guy, there's 4. But Dwayne Wade is going to be underappreciated to me. Without any doubt, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. I don't think there's any doubt about that. He's going to have that whole ceremony with Gabrielle Union and his kids sitting right up front. But the era that he played in, remember, he has 3 rings. 3. 1 more than LeBron. 2 less than Kobe and Tim. Dwayne Wade is greater than a lot of people will probably ever give him credit for. Do your engine a favor. You can make the switch to Pennzoil Synthetics. It's made from natural gas and designed for complete protection. Pennzoil Synthetics are pure performance. LeBron may have been wrong, but is there a right to counteract that? That's next on ESPN Radio's Freddie Coleman Show. It is the Freddie Coleman Show on ESPN Radio, also on the ESPN app. Anytime a guest stops by to do that, thanks to the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. It's on in terms of a rivalry. At least that's what I'm hoping. Between that LeBron James guy on one side and that Steph Curry guy on the other side. It's not going to be to the level of what we saw with Larry Bird and Magic Johnson when they had their run in the 80s, when anytime those 2 guys played against each other, even in the regular season, it was must-see TV. It was. They eyed each other from afar. They kept an eye on each other's teams, and they usually were playing against each other in the finals, and when they were not facing each other in the finals, it seemed like it wasn't exactly the same thing. A lot of people believe that's what's going to happen again, potentially. If Cleveland, who should have no business not being in the NBA Finals unless something dastardly disastrous happens, and we're not hoping for that. And Golden State, I think they're going to get there. I know I said 7 games versus Oklahoma City. I think when it comes right down to it, they're a better basketball team than Oklahoma City. They're going to prove that and get to the NBA Finals for the 2nd straight year, where the Cleveland Cavaliers should be awaiting them. And based on what I've heard, what people who are really close to the situation, people who know the NBA have told me, LeBron James does not like the fact that this is not his league anymore. Now, he had a chance to speak out in terms of Steph Curry winning the MVP. LeBron James finished third in the MVP voting. Steph Curry, unanimous. Kawhi Leonard was second. LeBron James was third. And then you started hearing that LeBron does not think that highly of Kawhi Leonard and doesn't have a lot of respect for him. And he also said in terms of Steph Curry deserved to be the MVP. He said there's no debate about that when it comes to that award. He said you look at his numbers. Averaged over 30 points, led the league in steals, 90, 50, 40. The Warriors won 73 games. He says, I don't think you have really any debate over that really when it comes to that award. But then he wasn't finished. He also said, he used the word valuable in terms of when you take that word valuable, it can mean this, it can mean that. And believe me, I'm paraphrasing what he had to say. Not saying he was shading the MVP award. And here's why I say there really is not a right. Whatever your criteria is for an MVP, that's what you're going to use as a voter. You could say it's all about numbers or value to a team. Or you take a guy away from that team, how good would they be or not be? It can, whatever a voter has in his or her mind for an MVP award, that is what they're going to bring to the table. The fact that Steph Curry became the first unanimous MVP, I said to myself, boy, Michael Jordan was never unanimous all those years at the height of his powers. Shaquille O'Neal came pretty close. He got every vote except one. And Fred Hickman, at the time, one of the voters, voted for Allen Iverson, who didn't even come close to finishing near first. He finished seventh with Shaquille O'Neal. So I was stunned when I saw that. And apparently it stunned LeBron James up to the point we'd say, hey, you know what? Yeah, he deserved to win the MVP. We get it. But at the same time, that valuable word could be taken in so many different ways. Steph Curry's response to that, well, he called it noise.
I've gotten really good at ignoring people. So that is the theme of the last 2 years. So I'm all right.
That was his response to LeBron James saying, and I quote, I think sometimes the word valuable or best player of the year, you can have different results. You know, that's not taking anything from anyone that's ever won the award. But when you talk about that most valuable, then you can have a different conversation. So take nothing away from him. He's definitely deserving of that award for sure. To me, you could say he may have been wrong. I don't think he was entirely wrong, based on the fact that he knows how the voting is for that. And also, LeBron James still believes that he's the best player in the NBA. It's one thing to finish second to Steph Curry, but to finish third behind Steph and Kawhi Leonard, that's an ego bruiser to a guy that has lived high and large in the NBA for more than a while. So he said, wait a minute, hold on. I lost the MVP to that guy. Okay, I know how great he is. He beat our team last year, but we didn't have Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving. I want that guy again to show him who the best player in the NBA is and that we have a better team. And we would have won it last year. We had everybody healthy. And he got 73 wins in the regular season. They beat us twice. Okay. But then I finished behind that guy, Kawhi Leonard, who I know is not on my level. Although anytime somebody has shaded Golden State, it has come back to haunt them, hasn't it? You heard it after the regular season last year. Lucky, charmed. This guy got hurt. That guy got hurt. Clippers blew a series. The Spurs lost in the first round. LeBron didn't have Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love. Boy, you guys lived a charmed existence. No injuries that keep guys out of games. And all they did was go out and win 73. Steph Curry gets hurt. They still won their playoff series. Steph Curry comes back. They still got it done. They are used to hearing this. I'm not saying there's anti-Warriors sentiment around the league. But when you're the champ and people are sick and tired of hearing about you, and especially you go out there and create history, there's going to cause some resentment. But it also continues to give that team a lot of fuel. Steph Curry, you can look at that baby face. There's an assassin behind those eyes and in that head. So, yeah, he's heard enough what he's had to hear.
I've gotten really good at ignoring people. So that is the theme of the last 2 years. So I'm all right.
That is the theme of the last 2 years. but I'm all right. Mm-hmm. That's his way of saying, oh, it's going to be all right now. All right. All right, LeBron. I heard you. Okay. I'm not saying you were shading me or that you were wrong, but, dude, if you won the MVP, I wouldn't be doing that to you. And if somebody tried to pull that on you, I would say, hey, man, the guy deserved to win the MVP. Leave well enough alone. But now you're trying to throw that out there to try to lessen that a little bit, to try to level it off. Okay. Another reason why I want this. I'm sorry, OKC fans. I'm sorry, Heat fans. I'm sorry, Raptors fans. I'm being selfish. It's about me right now. I want to see this happen because if Golden State gets Cleveland, if Cleveland gets Golden State, and Golden State wins, then what is the excuse going to be? What excuse are you going to find if you're a non-Golden State fan? You had plenty last year, and you fueled that team to win 73 games in the regular season. So if they pull it off again when everybody's healthy, what is your excuse going to be? I guarantee you Golden State is saying exactly that right now. He believes he should, but Greg Hardy may have to forget it, along with somebody else. That's next on ESPN Radio. It is the Freddie Coleman Show on ESPN Radio, also the ESPN app. Don't forget, Sunday Night Baseball has an NL Central rivalry. So I say a rivalry involving teams outside of the divisions. Dodgers will take on the Cardinals, presented by Harley-Davidson. Coverage begins Sunday at 7 o'clock Eastern Time on ESPN Radio, ESPNRadio.com, and the ESPN app at 8 o'clock on ESPN and the Watch ESPN app. Greg Hardy, still without a job. Yeah, no one's surprised about that. We clearly understand that when your name is toxic to that level, no matter what kind of talent you have, a lot of people in the National Football League or in sports, they're going to stay away. Now, he has an agent, a new agent, Drew Rosenhaus, who has talked to every NFL team about the therapy that Greg Hardy has been a part of and also counseling. This according to a report by ProFootballTalk.com. Drew Rosenhaus informed teams that he has been evaluated and treated by NFL physicians. He's undergone individual and group counseling, including for anger management, temper management, domestic violence, and ADHD. Still, there's hesitation. Check out what ESPN's Ed Werder had to say.
One said any deal would have to be blessed by ownership and at the right price. I imagine it would still be team friendly and packed with incentives if done. Still, many will probably steer clear to err on the safe side. And then beyond that, another one said, Greg Hardy, nobody wants him. And then another, respectfully to Drew and his efforts, I think there's just too much of a very hard sell moving forward. There's too much of an illusion towards cleaning up for the sake of sale. And then finally, Sarah, another one, general manager told me he's toxic and obviously desperate and just saying all the right things.
Wow. According to Pro Football Talk, Greg Hardy has taken part in 24 psychiatric therapy sessions this year. 24. And will continue to be treated and evaluated. Even with that, the believability scale with him, pretty much non-existent. I'm not laughing, trying to make joke out of this, because whatever issues that he is determined to work on, if this is to be believed, he's doing everything he can. I'm thinking if somebody's taking part in 24 psychiatric therapy sessions, they're willing to do whatever it is to try to turn that around in the minds of people, how they feel about them. And still, Greg Hardy on the outside looking in. I will also say this. If Greg Hardy had gotten 15 sacks last year, he'd still be with the Dallas Cowboys. If Greg Hardy had made an all-pro team or two and got nominated to go to the Pro Bowl, and he was that Kraken guy, his nickname for himself, when he was dominating as a defensive lineman for the Carolina Panthers, had he done that with the Dallas Cowboys last year, he would still be with the Dallas Cowboys. We're all grown folks here. A lot of people will look the other way based on your talent. Believe me, in our business, we got a bunch of knuckleheads in high-profile, high-priced positions. that aren't the best of people, but their talent is too much for their bosses to ignore. I'm talking about local radio, local TV, national radio. There are plenty of people that you love, that you watch on TV. If you knew what kind of person they were, you would never watch that person again. But that person is so valuable to that company because they make that company so much money. Whatever they do outside of committing a crime, whatever transgressions they have, because they have that ability, they will look the other way. Well, you know, he or she, they have some issues, but they're working on it. As long as they continue to make that person's company better and make that person's company a lot of money, they will come up with any kind of spin doctoring to try to justify it. The minute that you can't help them, out the door you go. And that's what happened with Greg Hardy. The Cowboys looked the other way on this guy when they signed him. What did Jerry Jones say at a certain point last season when Greg Hardy was pretty much tearing apart the locker room? Guys did not want to be around him. When Dez Bryant is the voice of reason, you know that guy's a problem. And I'm a big Dez Bryant fan. That guy loves to play football and loves to compete. When he has to calm down to Greg Hardy, that's telling me a lot about Greg Hardy. And Jerry Jones, as owner of the Dallas Cowboys, talked about the great leadership, the kind of leader that Greg Hardy was, or at that time is, the kind of leadership the Cowboys needed. And yet the minute they realized he was not going to be able to help them and be that dominant defensive player, they kicked him out. Now, for Greg Hardy's sake, I'm more interested in the person. I want the person to be better, because if that person is not better, being a great football player, that doesn't cut ice with me at all. But the fact that Ed Werder said with all the stuff that Greg Hardy has done in the offseason, according to Pro Football Talk, being represented by Drew Rosenhaus, has been evaluated and treated by NFL physicians, has undergone individual and group counseling for anger management, temper management, domestic violence, and ADHD, has taken part in 24 psychiatric therapy sessions, that still is not guaranteeing anything with him when it comes to being employed in the NFL in 2016.
One said any deal would have to be blessed by ownership and at the right price. I imagine it would still be team-friendly and packed with incentives if done. Still, many will probably steer clear to err on the safe side. And then beyond that, another one said, Greg Hardy, nobody wants him. And then another, respectfully to Drew and his efforts, I think there's just too much of a very hard sell moving forward. There's too much of an illusion towards cleaning up for the sake of sale. And then finally, Sarah, another one, general manager told me he's toxic and obviously desperate and just saying all the right things.
Wow. I wonder if Greg Hardy heard that and what he thought when he heard it. This is ESPN Radio, Sirius XM Channel 80, and the ESPN app. I'm Freddie Coleman. Then you have a Major League Baseball. They're not fooling around when it comes to any kind of domestic violence policy that they put in place. Rob Manfred, when he took over for Bud Selig, basically put it out there that if our players involve themselves in situations like that, we're going to get them. And they're not going to like it. Jose Reyes, for now, a member of the Colorado Rockies, was involved in a domestic violence situation last year on October 31st when he and his wife argued and it got physical. He's been suspended through May 31st. He's going to lose over $6.2 million in money. Check out what Tim Kirkshin, ESPN Major League Baseball Insider, had to say about MLB sending a message. And now, what are the Colorado Rockies going to do?
This is Rob Manfred, the commissioner, saying we're simply not going to put up with anything involved with domestic violence here. I thought this was a fair treatment, and yet it's still so difficult to figure out what's fair with so little precedent involved. It's roughly twice as much as Aroldis Chapman got, and it's significant, again, just like Chapman, that there's no appeal here. This is going to be tricky for the Rockies because they already have a shortstop in Trevor Story, who's had a fascinating beginning to his career and a sensational first month of the season. But they're going to have to bring him in because the union and everyone else is saying he's on your team starting May the 31st, and they'll have to figure out exactly how they're going to use him.
Boy, that's going to be interesting if you're Colorado. You're bringing in a guy that plenty of people don't want there anymore, inside and outside the organization, because of that domestic violence situation that happened last October. If you're Jose Reyes, and he could not apologize enough in a statement, Google the statement, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. I believe in that sincerity because, I know some cynics out there will say, well, he's just saying that so he can get back into Major League Baseball. I'm not going to say that you're wrong. I'm not going to say that you're incorrect. I believe that he was sincere with that statement for whatever reason that is. But when he comes back after May 31st, Tim Kirkshin is right. That's going to be interesting because Colorado has somebody that has taken his place. If Colorado did not have somebody that was taking his place that way, they would be counting down the days. They would. When it comes to Greg Hardy and Jose Reyes, anybody involved in a domestic violence situation, when you put yourself in that situation and when you're violating people, there's only so many apologies that people are going to want to hear. Greg Hardy is finding that out in the worst way for him in terms of playing in the National Football League. Jose Reyes could be in the exact situation when June 1st rolls around. Time for you to be a part of the frenzy. You got 15 seconds or less to tell me what is on your mind in the world of sports. You can talk about what we saw tonight in Game 1 between the Pens and the Tampa Bay Lightning. The Pens lose their goaltender Bishop. They win Game 1. We got a Game 7 between the Heat and Raptors. We got Oklahoma City and Golden State coming up. Whatever's on your mind, get it to me in 15 seconds or less at 888, say ESPN, 888-729-3776. And believe me, do not go past 15 seconds. My producer, Stas Cienki, does not play.
All right, zip it.
That is exactly what he'll do to you, and he has a quick trigger finger. 888-729-3776. Make it the best 15 seconds of your day or less with The Frenzy on ESPN Radio. It is the Freddie Coleman Show on ESPN Radio, Sirius XM Channel 80 and the ESPN app. Big thanks to Doug Glanville, ESPN baseball analyst, and also Amin Elhassan, always hating hard as an ESPN NBA insider / front office person. Both of those gentlemen are here thanks to the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. It's time for you to be here and be a gentleman and be a lady about it, but give me the best 15 seconds or less. What is on your mind in the world of sports? It's time for you to be a part of the frenzy right here on ESPN Radio. Can't wait to hear what you have to say, but make sure it's in 15 seconds or less, or my producer will snatch you.
Shut up! Shut up! Shut up!
He doesn't play. Believe me, my producer Stosh does not play. John in Nebraska, kick it off.
Do you think LeBron and Curry, if they both make it to the finals, which we both hope because we're selfish, will spark it off at each other on the court or after if someone does win, when they win?
So I don't think so. At least not from Steph Curry's standpoint. I mean, these two are not going to. We're not going to see like a UFC moment in the middle of the court. Both of those guys don't want to do anything like that. But they both want to beat each other, and I don't think that's bad for the NBA, to be honest with you. The NBA right now does not have that clear-cut rivalry like they used to have. A lot of people, we never got LeBron and Kobe. Never got that. Wanted it, never got it. Might get it again, back-to-back years with Cleveland and Golden State. And if that happens, we get a compelling series like we had last year. That could be setting us up for terrific storylines if it happens with those two. We'll see. Steve in Illinois, what you got?
Good show, Freddie.
Thank you, man.
Hey, I got a question to ask you. I heard all day you talk about Tim Duncan, Larry Bird, and stuff like that. Who do you think is a better player? Who do you choose in the lineup and why?
Tim Duncan or Larry Bird? I'm choosing Larry Bird. Nothing against Tim Duncan. Larry Bird, to me, he's one of those once-in-a-generation kind of players. A big man that could shoot from the outside, was tough as nails. The best big man frontline passer that the game has ever seen. Hit those clutch shots. Tim Duncan was terrific. guys like Larry Bird are in a different stratosphere. I'll take Larry Bird every day of the week. James in California, what you got for your 15 seconds?
Hey, in regard to Greg Hardy, this is T.O. all over again. He's a poison in the locker room. Nobody wants, despite all that talent, nobody wants him. And also with Drew Rosenhaus as his agent, who is an over-the-top character in his own right. And although he's a hell of a salesman, it doesn't make Greg Hardy's situation any better.
Yeah, he's a great salesman. He'd have to be the salesman of the century, especially what's going on with Greg Hardy, how people feel about him. It's different than T.O. because T.O. had a lot of issues to deal with. And, yeah, what they call him, team obliterator. I forgot who called him that. But he was never involved in domestic stuff off the football field. He was never involved in domestic violence stuff. He wasn't involved in knuckleheaded actions off the football field. He wasn't going around the clubs and knocking around people and doing stuff like that. But he always believed he was the best, and if he felt that things were not going right, he did not hesitate to say it. That's why I think this situation is different. Greg Hardy was accused, and then the charges were dropped when it came to that domestic violence situation when he was with the Carolina Panthers. And yet he got to the Dallas Cowboys locker room, and he proved not to be a good guy in that locker room. That's the difference from that standpoint. Based on what Greg Hardy was accused of off the field, Terrell Owens had a lot of stuff inside of him that manifested itself in the locker rooms, whether it was Philadelphia, San Francisco, or Dallas. Gary in Illinois, what you got for your 15 seconds?
I have a real sneaky feeling that LeBron and the Cavs have been holding back. Don't be surprised if they take Golden State 4 or 5 if they get there.
It wouldn't surprise me if they won, but they're not beating them in 4 or 5. I could see that in 6, but I couldn't see that in 4 or 5. And believe me, Golden State understands the toughness that they had to show in the playoffs without Steph Curry getting them to that point. They believe that's going to serve them well. Cleveland believes the kind of run they've had, they're going to be well rested and a lot healthier than they were last year when they got out of the East and got to the NBA Finals. We'll see what is going to win out because without any doubt, Golden State's going to have a harder series versus Oklahoma City than Cleveland's going to have against the winner of Miami versus Toronto. That still does not guarantee that things are going to go well having that easy road that Cleveland is going to have in the East. CJ in Montana, what you got for your 15 seconds part of the frenzy?
Hey, thanks for taking the call, Freddie. Hey, just wondering why Yankees aren't calling up the whole AAA Scranton team, why LeBron's jealous about not being MVP, and also Jerry Jones, Tebow's still available.
And Tebow is never playing in the National Football League. We can put that pipe dream away, number one. Number two, I hope LeBron James is not jealous of Steph Curry. He's way too great of a player who has done so much for the NBA to have that kind of ego situation with him. And to answer your first question with the New York Yankees, their inconsistent pitching, what have you got to lose? The problem is there's nobody down in the farm that would be better than the guys you have on the major club that is going to help that inconsistent pitching that we've seen from New York. Charles in Alabama, what you got for your 15 seconds?
Do you think Kevin Durant will go to San Antonio if they don't make it to the finals?
No, I don't see Kevin Durant leaving. I think he's going to enjoy the trappings of being wined and dined in free agency, but I don't see him leaving. That's not to say that San Antonio won't make a push for him. Golden State will make a push for him. I think San Antonio will also make a push for Mike Conley Jr. to take him away from Memphis. He's an unrestricted free agent as well. But my gut tells me that Kevin Durant is not leaving. He's not going to go back home to Washington. He enjoys the team he has. He enjoys playing with Russell Westbrook. He has a lot of respect for Billy Donovan. I think Kevin Durant wants to show people I can do it here. I don't need to go somewhere else and do it there with an established team or an established superstar, whatever that is. I want to show people I can do it here with this team, with Russell Westbrook, and win a championship here. I think that pull will keep him in Oklahoma City. I don't think, even though he'll be wined and dined, I don't think he'll leave when he becomes a free agent on July 1st. Marcus in Arkansas, what you got for your 15 seconds?
Man, just curiosity. LeBron James was all salty about Steph Curry winning. I don't remember him asking the definition of MVP, most valuable, when he won it.
Yeah. Marcus is spot on. Seriously. Because if anybody tried to do that, I would say, well, why are you doing that for? Okay, you may not like the guy that won the MVP, but someone thought enough of him that he should have been named MVP. I think what bothers LeBron James is the fact that Steph Curry was a unanimous MVP. And it was the first time it had ever happened. Maybe the last time it happens. But either way, I think being third behind Kawhi Leonard and Steph Curry was enough, but being a unanimous MVP, and that never happened with him, that probably burned him more than anything else. That's my opinion. Randy in New Orleans, what you got for your 15 seconds?
Hey, I don't think LeBron is burnt with the MVP. I think he's being competitive. Keep in mind, he said the valuable part. If you take LeBron away from the Cavaliers can struggle, but they can probably still pull off some wins. If you take Curry out of away from...
Wow, that was quick. You've been waiting for that. You hadn't gotten anybody all night. I always hated the argument, if you take him away. If means nothing to me. No disrespect, Corey in Arkansas. I've always hated that. Well, if you take Steph Curry away from Golden State against Oklahoma City, they're going to get swept. But he's not hurt. Stop using the if. Give me the facts. Give me the concrete. The if, nothing word to me. Keegan in Phoenix, what you got for your 15 seconds?
Taking my call, man. I know everybody's talking about the D-Wade LeBron matchup, but I think people detract the fact that Toronto, has been waiting for so long for this opportunity, and I just wanted your comments on Toronto basketball and what it could mean for them if they win.
It would be fantastic, but I guarantee you the majority of people in the United States don't want to see it. Seriously. That's not going to sell. I'm a basketball fan. I'll watch whatever. But I'm an outlier compared to a lot of people. It would be a great series versus Toronto. They'll lose in 5. But that won't be able to sell here. Sporting Life is up next. This has been the Freddie Coleman Show on the mighty ESPN Radio. Take care. God bless. And as always, keep cool.